If you want to look 2010 rich, what you got to do is get yourself a McMansion, move to the suburbs, and get yourself a used Acura. That's right beside me today, I got a 2010 Acura RDX with nearly 250,000 miles on it. This is the luxury brand from Honda, and they are known to be pretty darn reliable little SUVs. But today, we're going to decide if they really do hold up for the long haul and if you should buy one with high miles. We're going to take a walk around the outside. We're going to talk about the common problems, and then we're going to decide if the Acura RDX is a buy or a bust. Starting up front on our RDX here, and what do you guys think of this generation of Acura styling? They put in the big brushed stainless or aluminum grille up front, and I don't know that it was my favorite design choice, but it is definitely signature Acura. Otherwise, I think they look pretty decent. Obviously, this is now nearly 17 years old. It is holding up quite well, I gotta say, overall. You'll notice up at the top on the roof rack, there is a piece of plastic missing there. That's kind of common wear and tear cosmetic stuff. Rust concerns, I really don't have a lot with these cars. Obviously, if you are up in the rust belt, you need to check it out no matter what, but this is a Northeast car, and it has no rust to speak of on it at all. Otherwise, you can see headlights are oxidized like crazy, and that is pretty typical on these. Otherwise, for the age and miles, I got no real complaints. Under the hood of our RDX here today, we got a 2.3 liter four-cylinder turbo engine that makes 240 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. Now, this is not a huge SUV, and especially for back in 2010, those were actually really good numbers, especially out of a four-cylinder engine. So Honda, who owns Acura, makes some of the best little four-cylinder engines. At least that's the reputation out there on the market. And generally, I've had a really good experience with them, and they've fared really well in these reviews. Now, this one here, I think, obviously this car has 250,000 miles and is held up for the long haul, but we are going to talk about some of the common problems that you need to look out for if you are going to buy one of these. Now, the number one thing I would check out is right on the startup of the car. I didn't hear any of it today when we started this one up, but especially when the engine is cold, you want to make sure that you don't hear a rattling coming from the side of the engine, because the VTC actuators, which are part of the timing chain system and are for the variable timing of the engine, those can fail. It is a fairly in-depth and labor-intensive part to replace and will cost you a fair amount of money. So you want to make sure that you don't hear any crazy rattling coming from the side of the engine when you start these guys up. The other noise that you could hear, but is not terribly common, is this is a timing chain engine, and at times the timing chains can stretch as these age, but it's not a super common issue and not one that I would be super concerned about because it doesn't affect most of the cars. The other thing I would check is when the car is running, make sure that you're not getting any smoke out from the exhaust out there, because these are a turbo engine and these turbos are known to fail and push some oil through the engine, cause some oil consumption issues and some smoke. So I would, when you're on your test drive, make sure that the turbo sounds good. And this one you could actually hear, it sounded really good actually. You can hear a little bit of the turbo, it's kind of fun. But make sure that the car pulls really nice and smoothly. Make sure there's not inconsistent acceleration from a failing turbo. Next thing that is a common failure point on these, not a huge concern, is the motor mounts for these are a hydraulic mount. They're filled with fluid, and those are known to fail. So if you notice that your shifts are a little bit clunky, if the engine's really rocking back and forth here inside of the engine bay, you probably have some failing motor mounts. Those are not terribly expensive and not a huge concern to me. Next up, and if you watched any of my Honda or Acura videos, you know what I'm going to say next, and that is air conditioning. AC compressors, known to fail for sure, right around 75, 100,000 miles. Honda just does not build reliable AC components, and these cars are no different. You'll probably have to replace those, so check and make sure that the AC is working. And then the next thing is power steering lines. You can actually kind of see them right on the side of the engine there. They're looking a little crusty even on this car, but those are known to fail and leak over time as well, and they're not that difficult or expensive to replace, so I wouldn't be too concerned about it. This engine is made to a 5-speed automatic transmission, and this one's really easy because these transmissions are extremely reliable. Not a lot for me to talk about. I think they'll make it for the life of the car with really no issues. You can service them. That'll help obviously prolong the life as well. But as long as it's shifting good on a test drive, you should be good to go. Now, this car is a front-wheel drive car, so no all-wheel drive concerns or anything there, but the all-wheel drive systems on these cars are also pretty reliable. I don't have a lot of concerns there. Moving on to the interior of our Acura here. Now, since it is an Acura, it should be extremely luxurious, but the truth is in general, Lexus and Acura, the Japanese luxury brands, generally don't do luxury all that well, especially in these older years. They're just kind of like a slightly up-leveled Honda, and that is exactly the case here. Yes, it has leather and some softer pieces on the door panels. Otherwise, it is hard plastic up on the dash for sure. The overall wear and tear is okay. There's a few things in here that make these interiors pretty unsightly as they age. Number one would be, and it's especially in these tan leather interiors, the seats kind of wear and show. It's not like they get crazy ripped, but they definitely show a bunch of wear as they age. And the other one is headliner. Acura's had a problem for a long time with the glue that they use for headliners, pieces on the door panel, any type of fabric stuff, and this is no different. The headliner's fallen down and does make it look a little bit rough inside. Otherwise, all the wear and tear is stuff that is absolutely normal for 250,000 miles. I'm really not even hating on the interior that much because it's still a very comfortable place to hang out, road trip, and drive around daily. I don't have a lot of complaints. Now, as far as electronics and things like that, I know we already covered the AC, so definitely check that out as a first thing if you're going to look at one of these used. The other is the screens for up here. It looks like a navigation screen. It's not. That can go bad as these age. And then seat motors. Make sure that your seat goes back and forth just as it should because these motors are known to wear over time. Overall, while definitely not a luxury car level of interior in here, I would drive this car every day with no issues. Moving on to the second row of our RDX here, and this is a small SUV, and I gotta tell you, I am pleasantly surprised by the amount of space I have here. I got plenty of legroom. I actually have plenty of headroom other than the headliner is resting on my head, but the actual headroom is just fine. The seat is pretty comfortable. It sits like maybe a little bit low, but it's nice and soft. They use the same materials on the door panels and things as they did up front, so that's a nice touch. Cup holders, kind of just basic, but it really has everything you need and is a comfortable place to be, and you could ride back here for many hours with no issues. Pulling out now onto the road in our RDX, and we got some nice clear spots in front of us here, so we're gonna get on it. All right, we are on a back and bumpy road and it is pouring down rain, but it had actually pretty good power. That turbo was pulling just nice and consistently. You know, it's not fast, I wouldn't call by any stretch, but it had plenty of power for most of the buyers of this car. Now, power is probably not the biggest concern for most buyers of this car, but fuel mileage probably is. And actually these do pretty decent for now being 16, 17 years old. These are rated at 19 in the city, 24 out on the highway, which is pretty decent. But there is one little asterisk I gotta give you on this, and that is these require 91 octane fuel. So you gotta get the mid-grade. I guess that's mid-grade. It depends where you are in the country because it sometimes changes between the octanes there. But mid-grade fuel, so you're gonna spend a little bit more at the pump. Just gonna do a normal sort of acceleration here. It does have some torque steer. I don't know, you probably saw it. I wasn't sure how much of it was just like the rain and the rough road that we're on, but definite torque steer. You can feel it when you're accelerating, even just kind of regularly on through your steering wheel here. I do have some clunks and things in the suspension as we're on this back bumpy road here, and that's kind of typical. You're going to run into suspension issues as these age. Usually around 150,000 miles, something like that. You're going to end up replacing most of the transmission stuff, CV axles as well. If you notice a sort of clicking or a little bit of a rough feeling through the steering wheel, a lot of times it's CV axles starting to go bad. Overall, as we're just cruising down the road here, it does not feel like this car has 250,000 miles on it. It feels truly much lower than that. My seat is comfortable. It's actually more spacious inside than you would sort of think. My AC today works, which is always a question mark, but it's working good. And I got actually no lights on the dash on this car at all. Back from the test drive, and now it's time to decide if the Acura RDX is a buy or a bust. The market on these cars with 250,000 miles is probably $3,000 or $4,000. Now, if you're looking at one with 150,000 miles, obviously that's gonna be a little bit more expensive, probably around the $6,000 range. These cars, I think, do offer a fair amount of reliability and a fair amount of value. No, I would say they're barely a luxury car. These are not, this is far more like a Honda than it is a BMW or a Mercedes. Acura definitely didn't go all out in that regard, but you do get Honda reliability with it, so that is a huge plus. I know we talked about a lot of different things under the hood, and yes, maintenance is key on these to make sure that you're not running into some major issues, and I'm a little bit concerned as far as turbo wear and things, but if you check it out like we suggested, I really think if you bought one with 150,000 miles, it would easily last to 250 or 300,000 miles as long as you keep up with some of the maintenance on it. So today, that makes my decision fairly easy. We're gonna call the RDX a buy. How could I not when the one sitting right here drives decent and has 250,000 miles with no huge issues sitting here today? If you have one of these cars and had a great experience or a terrible experience, or if you think there's something I missed, I want to hear all about it. So put that information in the comments down below. I appreciate you guys following along. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.